Do you know The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King ending? Well, in the book, there was more. Much more. Peter Jackson cut most of the ending off, since the movie was already 4 hours long in the extended edition. People have criticized Tolkien's ending and praised the movie ending, but some still say that the movie ending was too long. Was it? And what was the movie missing? Today, I will be reviewing The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King book, comparing it to the movie, and give my opinion on the multiple endings controversy. Like, splinter that subscribe button, and light that beacon of a bell. If you want an age rating, check out my first review of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Anyway, onwards with the review. Plot: 9 out of 10. Herein, I will tackle the issue. The first part is very different from the movie. In the book, it starts with Pippin and Gandalf arriving at Minas Tirith. Unlike the movie, where it starts with the company having a little chat with Saruman. There, they chatted with Denethor, who is also dissimilar from the movie version. I'll get into that at the end when I'm rating characters. Anyway, after that chapter we move to Aragorn and his company, with Theoden and his kin. They go into the paths of the dead, after Aragorn has a little chat with Eowyn. Basically, the movie was directly quoting from the book in that chat. The muster of the Rohirrim was expanded on in the book, showing how they got to Gondor in time, guided by a Stone Age tribe. And when they arrived at Gondor, I read a Goodreads review saying that the book's battles were rather dry, and that he or she preferred the movie version. I beg to differ. Quote, "Arise, arise, riders of Theoden, fell deeds awaken, fire and slaughter, spear shall be shaken, shield be splintered, a sword day, a red day, ere the sun rises. Ride now, ride to Gondor." Excuse me. With that, he seized a great horn from Guthlaf, his banner bearer, and blew such a blast upon it that it burst asunder. And straightway all the horns in the host were lifted up in music. The horns of Rohan in that hour was like a storm upon the plain and a thunder in the mountains. Ride now, ride to Gondor. The Ride of the Rohirrim, The Return of the King. Excuse my terrible voiceover. This got my blood pumping in ways a book has never ever done to me and shall ever be done to me. This is what all the writers aspire to. So, the Battle of Pelennor Field was epic in every conceivable way. Moving on, however painfully, we continue onwards until our characters are arrayed on the field of Cormallen in front of the Black Gates. In the movies, it was Aragorn who was attacked by the troll, but in the books, Pippin was the one attacked. Pippin, in order to get even with Merry, slew the troll, which of course landed on him, knocking him out. And then we go to Sam as he's about to go and try and rescue Frodo after he'd been stung by Shelob. Again, this is from the lack of alternating POV chapters, which can make it a bit disorientating, but is forgivable. With that, what happens in Mordor is identical. After so long, they finally arrive at Mount Doom. Well, let me give you an awesome line from the book referring to Sam. His will was set, and only death could break it. Finally, the ring was destroyed. They are carried by the eagles back to Ithilien. I must mention that since the beginning of this book, every part on Frodo and Sam's side has been narrated by Sam, as if he was the main character. Here we get to the first ending. The first was when the hobbits were celebrated in Minas Tirith. The Fellowship of the Ring starts traveling, and one by one they leave to their respective homelands. Surprise, surprise, they bump into Saruman and Wormtongue. I forgot to mention this in my previous video on the two towers, but they didn't actually die. in the book, that is. After exchanging some insults, they get to Rivendell, where, after spending a few weeks relaxing over there, get to the Shire. But oh no, the Shire has been taken over by Saruman. Now, the hobbits start a rebellion and take it back. This is where Wormtongue stabs Saruman in the back and is killed by arrows. Not Legolas's arrows, but Hobbit arrows. Then, after several years, Bilbo and Frodo go over the sea. After decades of being the mayor, Sam eventually goes after them. All of this is where people had problems. Could it be overbloated? Maybe. Was it unnecessary? Probably. Was it enjoyable to watch some hobbits kick ass? Absolutely. It was immensely fun to have such a farewell for them after going through so much blood, sweat, and tears. This was long, but on to the next section. World building, 10 out of 10. My first perfect score. The Witch King of Angmar, Cirith Ungol, Minas Morgul. With all of that, I would have only given it a 9 out of 10. But it was this paragraph that drove it up to the next level. Here, I'm continuing on where I left previously. Quote, "Suddenly the king cried to Snowmane, and the horse sprang away. Behind him, his banner blew in the wind, white horse upon a field of green, but he outpaced it. Fey he seemed, or the battle fury of his fathers ran like new fire in his veins, and was borne up on Snowmane like a god of old, even as Orome the Great in the battle of the Valar when the world was young." The Ride of the Rohirrim, the Return of the King. Bringing references to events that happened in the Silmarillion brought this whole passage up from legendary to mythical. I cannot express in English words how much I loved this book. Characters, 9 out of 10. This was the culmination of all the character arcs. Gandalf has finally been relieved of his burden of destroying Sauron. Eowyn now understands the value of small deeds thanks to Merry. Pippin now feels confident as he slew a troll in the last battle. Frodo destroys the ring and finds final peace in Valinor. Sam conquers his naivety and despair. Theoden can now stand tall and proud in the halls of his forefathers. Legolas and Gimli overcame their prejudices. I could go on and on. Denethor was different in that he, in the book, was more cunning and less pathetic than he was in the movie. He would oscillate between insanity and sanity. Overall, 9 out of 10. Absolutely amazing, but how did it compare to the movie? Well, let me lay it out for all of the books and movies. The Fellowship of the Ring was more faithful to the book, and thus they were even. The Two Towers movie had better pacing than the book, so it outpaced. The Return of the King, though, made some changes that made zero sense, such as having Gandalf be beaten by the Witch King of Angmar, instead of that awesome and cinematic scene where Gandalf and him face off in Minas Tirith, right before the Ride of the Rohirrim. If you have read the book, you know what scene that I'm speaking about. In the end, the book ended better, despite an even longer ending than the movie. This is just my personal opinion, but here it is. These books and movies have shaped the world like no other fiction works, other than Crime and Punishment. Anyway, Veronwë out.